Now that we have our layout, let's take a look at the admin workstation. In this demo, I'm going to log in as a standard help desk user and configure our system for use. I'll be modifying the PowerShell console. We'll take a look at running a couple commands. We're going to make the console better for ease of use. And then we're going to take a look at the RSAT tools and talk about those a little bit and how important they are for PowerShell when we're doing server administration. So here we are on our administrative workstation. So we want to open up the PowerShell console. The easiest way is through the start screen. So I can either click on the Windows button or I can simply click the Windows key on my keyboard. And that brings up the start screen. And then I'm going to type in PowerShell. Notice that it brings up PowerShell as the first option. I'm going to mouse over and then I'm going to right click. This allows me to pin that to the taskbar so then I can launch PowerShell from the taskbar on the desktop because we're going to do most of our work from the desktop. So notice we've got our icon down here. So if I right click on this, notice it gives me a number of tasks that I can do. So this allows me to do a lot of different things with PowerShell. So it allows me to run PowerShell or the Windows PowerShell ISC as standard users or as administrators. There's often things that when we're running commands, say like remote sessions, that we need to run those with administrative context. So this gives us the option to be able to do that. So I'm going to open up Windows PowerShell, and that brings up the familiar console window. So notice it gives us the navy blue background with the white font. So we're going to leave that, but what we're going to do is we're going to modify the size of the window and also the font size to make it easier to view. So I'm going to click on the title bar here and go to Properties, go to Font, and this allows me to change the font. I'm going to leave the type of font, the Lucida Council, because that really gives a good look to the window, in my opinion. The Windows preview, this will show us the preview of what the console looks like in the total desktop. So as I change the font up here to 20, notice it shows you what the font looks like down here, and that's a pretty good size for our viewing. However, if we look at the preview, our console has gone off of the right side of the screen. So we're going to need to modify the size of the console window in order to get it to fit in. So I'm going to go over to Layout. Notice we have a screen buffer size, a window size, and a window position. So the width of the window size and the screen buffer size need to be the same. The reason for that, if they're different, what ends up happening is that you get a scroll bar on the bottom instead of having word wrap work correctly. And PowerShell knows that. So if I type in 95 here and I click Tab to go to the next line, it automatically changes the window size width to match those. Notice the screen buffer size, the height. This is set to 3000. So what this basically does is this says that that's how much buffer as far as lines going down that we're going to have. So this is a really good amount to have. This is going to capture a lot of information. So that allows you to be able to scroll back up and not really lose anything. So the window size and height, that's a different story. So the height of 50, that's going to give us one. If we click OK here, it's going to be a little bit too big. So we're going to go back in and we're just going to modify this down slightly. We're going to put that at 30. And that looks like a good window. So we'll center the window there. So that's our Windows PowerShell window. So we can also go in here and if I type in PS version table, it tells me the version of PowerShell that I'm using. So from here, we can tell that we are using the 4.0 version of PowerShell. We can also tell that this is compatible with PowerShell 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it goes all the way back. So this is going to be pretty well up to date. There may be some versions of PowerShell out there on the newer versions of the operating system. However, this is current as far as where we're at here, and this will do the trick for us. As far as you're concerned, as long as you're running PowerShell version 3.0 and above, you should be good to go. So that's the PowerShell console, and that's how we modify that. So now let's take a look at the RSAT tools. So the remote server administration tools are a set of tools that we can install on a Windows 8.1 client to give us all the administrative consoles and the PowerShell modules that we need to manage our Windows Server 2012 and 2012 R2 environment. To get those, we need to go out to Microsoft, and I'm going to go out to Microsoft.com, and then we're going to search for the RSAT tools. So we'll put in RSAT Windows 8.1, and that should bring up at the top of the list a download for the Windows Server Administration tools for Windows 8.1. So what's important here is a couple things. One, you need to make sure that you're downloading for the right version of the Windows client you have. So there are a set of tools for Windows 8. There'll be a set of tools for Windows 10. So we have the ones for Windows 8.1. So if we click on the download, notice it also brings up two different versions, a 64-bit and a 32-bit. So whichever version of Windows you're running, you want to download those. So we would go ahead and we would download this one. I've already downloaded the tools and installed them to save us some time, but it's a real easy install. You simply download it, click it, you accept an end user license agreement, and you're good to go. So once those are installed, we'll go ahead and close IE. If we go into the start screen, we'll go over to the administrative tools. We see we now have a big set of administrative tools, and you can see we can click on Server Manager, and it has the exact same Server Manager that we saw on Server 2012. So we could configure all of these tools to work with the servers in our environment. So I'm going to click Close here. We may use some of these tools later on, but what's really important for us is that now we have added in all of the PowerShell modules that are associated with all of those tools. So a PowerShell module includes all of the commandlets and functions that the Microsoft product teams created to work with each of these different areas. So we have ones for DHCP, ones for Active Directory, DNS, all sorts of things. So if we go back in here, and if I do a simple get-command, this is going to bring us up a huge list. So all of these different functions, do a Control-C. So just to break that up, so you see we've got all of these DHCP server functions that we can utilize. So get-DHCP server version, I'm guessing that allows us to get us version information. So we're going to dive more into this in a future module, but I simply wanted to show you the RSAT tools, talk about those a little bit, and also get your Windows PowerShell console all set up. So I think that wraps it up.